Hi, Math 101. In this first video, I would like to tell you some stuff about Canvas and some stuff about our course. I think it's really important information, and the fastest way I know to do this is to just show you. So one way to get to Canvas is to go to the MJC's website, and right here, click on the Canvas icon. Then this is the section number for our course, but this includes two courses. Not only does it include section number 6063 as it says, it also includes 7925, and there's no good way that I know of making that 7925 show up here. But if you click, you can see evidence 6063 and 67925. You can see evidence that you've landed in the right spot, and you have. So if you've had one of my classes before, or possibly another class where they've used Canvas, or maybe even an online class, you may think that you know a lot about it, but I've sort of discovered that some of my students don't know much about Canvas even at the end of the semester. So it would be worth your time and energy to look through Canvas and explore it, and I'm going to help you start exploring Canvas. One thing that I think is underutilized is the syllabus. So we're going to click on syllabus here and see what it has to say. The first part of the syllabus is me writing to you, and I think that this has some important stuff in it, and I hope that you read this important stuff and look at it and think about it, because it answers a lot of questions, I hope, that you would have. Some students notice this slimmed down version of the calendar up here. They notice a little bit of shading. They're not totally sure why it's shaded, but Then here, this answers a whole bunch of people's questions about how much each thing is worth. Notice there's two kinds of assignments, software and book homework. There's a presentation, which is worth about as much as a test. There's 3 exams, each are worth 10%, total of 30%. There's a final exam, which is 40%. It's cumulative. That's a pretty big chunk of your grade. And so I would say many of my students figure this out and know where this is, and even know what information's here. But a lot of students don't bother to scroll down to the bottom, or if they do, they don't have a real appreciation for what's here. So I'd like you to look at what's here, because I didn't really do this. I just did some work in Canvas carefully, and then Canvas itself organizes this. But notice it's organized by due date, so it tells you when everything is due. But more than that, these are clickable. So for instance, if we were to click B1 for book assignment 1, there's some information here. There's page numbers and problem numbers. There's a video one, and there's a PDF file that's part of the assignment, and there's some directions here because it is the first book assignment. And there's quite a bit of information there on hand just from this little course summary. It's pretty interesting. What about software assignment 1? Well, there's going to be a whole video on software assignments, but this is a way to get started on the software assignment. If you wanted to, you could click on question 1 and you'd be sort of live, you'd be working. And there's no worries if you make a mistake or whatever. It's fixable, it's always fixable. There's an unlimited number of times you can try. The only thing that's not fixable is if you're past the due date. That's it. There's no exceptions. Due dates are kind of set in stone in this online class. So that's semi-interesting. All of this just in a course syllabus. Down here, some students like to email the instructor saying, when is our first exam? Well, our first exam looks like it might be Friday, September 27th. Let's click on exam 1 for section 7925. Just have something to do. So this tells you what exam 1 covers. It tells you the primary ways to study. It gives you some information. It repeats some dates and due dates, because even when they're repeated, people often don't figure them out. Down here, if you're a stickler for detail, this is kind of silly. There's some silly stuff down here. For instance, it says that this is due. Well, why would you talk about a due date and time for an exam? That doesn't make any sense. Except this due date is how it puts this thing on the syllabus in the first place. It organizes them by due date. So I had to put that in there. So what I put as a due date and time is the last minute of our class. But, our class meets from 10:25 till 11:59 and from 8:45 to like 10:15. So again, a lot of information there. Some people get distressed by the presentations and they don't understand the presentations. Well, here you're choosing your mathematician, which takes about, 3 minutes to write up, and it's 10 out of the 100 points, and you can click here and find out about what you're supposed to be doing, and you could do that right now. You could look at these lists, you could think about them, you could pick a mathematician right now, and you would have earned 10 points. Then the report's due a couple weeks after that, and this is some information about the report, and all of this just from a little syllabus. Canvas has done a pretty good job here. Final exam, maybe you want to know about the final exam. Well, final exam's here, and you have some information. So I hope that I've done a pretty good job of selling you on the idea that this syllabus is important. Perhaps all I really needed to say is that before the first day of class, I actually print all this out. It usually takes, to do it well, usually takes 3 or 4 pieces of paper. Print them all out, put them in my notebook so that I have this handy at all times. So that if I'm in the middle of a week and I'm sort of forgetting which is due when and where and why, this helps me. So that's a pretty strong recommendation, I would think. So home and modules are roughly the same in our course. So when I talk about modules, if you clicked on home, it's going to be about the same thing. You'll see some recent announcements. I haven't built any announcements yet because this course is unpublished. But if you look at home and you look at modules, they're about the same. And this particular video will go right here when I'm done recording it. You'll see that I've already recorded one of the lecture videos. This is where you will find solutions to the homework, the book homework assignments. And here you'll find solutions to the exam, so you can use them to study for the final exam. Modules are very important. Almost everybody figures that out. Now, before we go to grades, it is kind of important for me to not go to grades as a teacher, because then all of your information would show up for everybody and you could all look at each other's information, and that would be a bad thing. I try not to do that. So now I've made myself sort of a test student, and let's go to grades and see what's there. So grades has a list of all the assignments, again, just like the syllabus did. And it has how many points they're worth. It again tells you the breakdown of the different categories. But notice here there's some interesting information. It says show saved what-if scores, show all details. There seems to be what-if scores. You can view your grades based on what-if scores. So in other words, if I've graded an assignment, then there will be a grade there. But you can take any grade, whether I've put it there or whether it's empty, like this empty one, and you can put something in. You can pretend. You can say, what if I get a 28 out of 28? What's going to happen there? Well, let's go down and see what seems to happen. We have 100% in the class. We have an A. We got 28 out of 28 on one software assignment, and now we have 100% in the class. That makes us feel good, but really? Is that A very strong, or is it sort of changeable? Well, there's a little box here that's really important. Calculate based only on graded assignments. That means it's only grading one thing. If you want to know kind of how much you've done out of all the points in the class, now look at what the 28 gives us. Well, that's not what I thought it was going to be. So one problem with the student view is that it tends to get a little corrupted. So now I've fixed the problem, And notice that now this is telling me that, yeah, I got 28 out of 28. But in terms of the whole course, that's only a little bit more than 1.5% of the course is whole grade. And so I could be happy about my 100%, sure, but that's pretty much a drop in the bucket, as you can obviously see. So what do you do? Well, you can do what you want. You can click here and feel pretty good, because that's pretty accurate, or not. It just depends on how you feel. So let's go back to something else. Let's go to MyLab and Mastering. Now, how do you get registered for MyMathLab in the first place? If you already have a MyMathLab account, you can click here and enter the MyMathLab account and go from there. But the first time that you click on this in this class, for most of you, you'll get this kind of page. And if you have an access code for our book, you put it here. If you want to buy the book, which kind of gives you access to the book for mini courses, you pay $104.99 and you get the MyMathLab software and you get the textbook all. If you click here, you get the MyMathLab textbook and the software, everything you need, but only for 18 weeks. Since most of you are pretty good students and you're probably going to be done with this book, in 18 weeks, I'd strongly encourage you to spend $70 rather than $105, but that's just me. $70 strikes me in today's world as a pretty good deal. So when you click on that, then you start being given options to pay and things like that. So I'm not going to click here because I don't want to pay for an imaginary book. Notice down here, if for some reason you're low on funds right now, you can get temporary access right here for up to 14 days so that you can get started on the problems and things like that, so that you're not behind or you don't get dropped by your instructor or something like that. So all in all, this is a pretty good deal, and I kind of strongly recommend it. So what else is there? Well, let's back up. I'm not backing up as fast as I thought I was. You can explore different things. Assignments is here, and this is just, instead of the syllabus, this is just assignments, and you can click on these assignments just like we did in the syllabus. I'm not going to do it again for you. Notice down here this copy of the final exam score. Don't worry about that. That has almost nothing to do with you. It's just the mechanics of how I allow the final exam score to replace your lowest test score. It really, you could just sort of ignore it and it would be okay. Calendar, possibly. I think it's a wonderful calendar, but I don't use it. I just don't have much use for it. So this is test student and this is 6063. That's our course. So I'll go to the next month. Well, it shows me some things, and once again, you'd think maybe these are clickable, so let's click on this one and see what happens. There's that same information again, so you can access them from assignments, you can access them from syllabus, you can access them from calendar, or I suppose you could email your instructor and say, hey, when was our first assignment due? But let's not do that. All right, so this is the end of the first video. I hope it's helped. I hope I haven't drug it on too long. But if I did, you could always just fast forward through parts of it, right? So there you go.